On? Oh, I'm sorry. I usually speak loud enough. Everybody hear what I said? Okay. Uh, and we got a few new people on the committee this year. Jay is going to be the vice chairman, and he's got a lot of experience. He was the mayor of Villa Rica. He ran the police department and fire department, emergency services. So he's got some experience. And I don't see our secretary Jody, but Jody's a registered nurse. She worked with me last year on the law enforcement mediation, I'll say for lack of the official title, but is to deal with law enforcement officers, public safety officers of all types that involved in tragic incidents that they may have mental issues from, so basically, Mark McDonough there was my replacement. I was the commissioner of public safety for 7 years, and prior to that, I was Georgia's first Homeland Security Director, so I have a pretty good understanding of public safety and Homeland Security. I worked in Georgia state government from 1969 to 2012, and mostly in the Department of Public Safety. I worked 5 years over at the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council dealing with a variety of issues, mainly the 30 multi-jurisdictional drug task forces, but I worked some with violence against women, violence against children, and a lot of the grant programs. And I'm not going to go on and on. I served in the Marine Corps in Vietnam, was an officer in the Coast Guard, but I'd like to go around and let everybody just give a little synopsis of who they are and what they're about, since this is the first time. And I know a couple of the new ones just by name, but I don't know their background. So we'll give them all an opportunity. And of course, everybody knows Abby. Abby's been here forever. She's the person who's going to keep me straight. So, Heath. I'm sorry.
All right. Representative Heath Clark out of Warner Robins and Centerville, Houston County area, District 147. In my third term, have been on public safety since my beginning back in 2015. So last year I was the vice chairman of this committee. And was just appointed as chairman of Defense and Veterans Affairs, so look forward to working with many of you in that committee as well. So,
Is that 17? Yeah, we there. You 17?
Yeah,
17?
Yeah, 17, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm Danny Mathis. I represent District 144. I took Mr. Bubba Epp. Some of y'all knew him. I know I got big shoes to fill, and I'm not going to fill them, but I'm going to do the best I can. But I represent that district gladly. That's 7 counties. I'm in the funeral business, and I was coroner down there for 18 years. I've been a EMT. I was back in EMT back when the number was 1181, so that tells you how old I am. So I've worked with the public safety. I appreciate so much what the State Patrol, Sheriff's Department, Police Departments, EMS does, fire departments. We've worked together with that for a long time. So I was just ecstatic when I got appointed to this committee as a first-time legislator. So I feel like with the GBI and the things that we've done over the years that I'm just glad to be here and hope I can help out. So thank you very much.
Last but not least, our lawyer.
I'm Scott Holcomb. I'm an attorney and a former prosecutor, and this is, I think, my 9th year on the committee. Thanks.
And our lawyer who represents us.
Julius Talbert, LEC Counsel. This is I've been with LEC Counsel for 7 sessions, and I think this committee for 5. So.
This is my 3rd year in the legislature. I represent House District 68, which is Temple, Villa Rica, and southern Douglas counties. As the chairman alluded to, I came from local government. That's my background. I was mayor over the Villa Rica Police Department for a number of years there, working with them, State Patrol in the area, Sheriff, EMS. We had a great working relationship. I can tell you, Willie Nelson's got that country song that says, "My heroes have always been cowboys." Well, my heroes are 10-8, and they're waiting on the next call. And I consider it an honor to be able to serve in this capacity as vice chair and support our law enforcement. I'm also a country undertaker, and I belong to the to the funeral directors caucus, like my colleague right over there.
Be on? Yes, my name is Becky Evans, and I'm a newly elected representative from DeKalb County, House District 83. And I've been a community volunteer the past 25 years, and before that I worked for a healthcare software firm in project management. When I campaigned, safety was the #1 issue in my community, and I'm very honored and privileged to be here with you today serving on this committee. And I know I have a lot to learn. I'm really awed to be in the presence of all of you who've been in public service for so long, so thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Eddie Lumsden, a representative for District 12, Floyd and Chattooga County, Rome and Somerville area. This is my beginning my seventh year here at the House of Representatives, seventh year on this committee. I'm a retired state trooper by profession. I spent just shy of 30 years serving in that capacity. I'm also an insurance agent. My wife and I own an State Farm insurance business. And I also served at the local government level as a county commissioner, chairman of the county commissioner with oversight for public safety in that capacity as well. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve on this committee. I worked under Colonel Hitchens there for a number of years, but for some reason our paths never crossed in that capacity. He said that, well, if that was the case, I must have been a good trooper because he only saw the ones that gave him problems. So, you know, I'll take that as a compliment, you know. But anyway, it's a pleasure and an honor to serve here, and I'm glad to continue to work with many of you that I've worked with on bills in the past. So, thank you.
I'm Rick Williams from Baldwin County, Milledgeville, Georgia. I too belong to the funeral caucus. We're growing in numbers. Maybe we'll outnumber the lawyers before long. But I served as a county commissioner and chairman of the county commission also in Baldwin County. Also grew up running ambulance. Back in my day, funeral homes ran ambulance service. So troopers were hanging out at our funeral home, and when I was not riding an ambulance, I was riding around with Glenn Ray, Mike Rhodes, some of those guys in state patrol cars. I left to go license check. We used to do that all the time. And I came to a decision in my life. Do I go after that trooper, or do I stay in the family business? Roy Harris and Bert Davis, two GBI agents, told me to stay in the family business, so I did. But I did spend some time down in Albany, Georgia after the flood in '94, identifying the displaced graves down there. I was down there the last 3 days, so I do have a big appreciation for law enforcement. George Ellis and his brother Randy and Chief Ellis, they're my best friends and grew up with them, so I really have an appreciation for law enforcement. And I'm honored to be here with Colonel Hitchens, and he's one of my heroes too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm State Representative Gloria Frazier, and I represent House District 126, Augusta, Georgia, home of James Brown. I think you all know that. I am one of the senior members along with Representative Scott Holcomb. This is my 7th term, 13th year, and 13 years serving on public safety and homeland security. Have truly enjoyed being a part of this committee. The only concern I have is, Mr. Chairman, that we have 3 undertakers now. And I don't know if that's a prerequisite, but I have never served on a committee with 3 morticians.
They want you.
So we'll see how that goes as we progress through.
Better to be seen than viewed.
I really don't want to see any of you guys in any position. So, you know, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mac Jackson. I serve District 128, which is Washington County, Sandersville, Hancock County, Glasscock County, Warren County, Johnson County, Jefferson County, and a portion of McDuffie County. I've got a senatorial district. It's very large. But this is my 11th year in the General Assembly and the 11th year serving on this committee under the great Chairman Powell. For 11 years since I've been here, he's kind of took me under his wings and trained me. But I'm just happy to be on this committee. I retired from the state of Georgia as a probation officer in the Sandersville office. Lots of law enforcement experience, and it's just a privilege to be on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bill Workheiser. I represent District 157, which is Tattnall, Evans, and Wayne counties, which is an hour inland from Savannah. My connection to this committee is more with Department of Corrections than it is law enforcement. I've just had a great relationship with them. I've been to every prison in the state and participated in about every event that Department of Corrections is involved in, and this is my third year on this committee. Thank you.
And the next guy has been here for 25 years, I think. Alan Pound is the dean here. He's with chairman the last 6 years. He moved on to regulated industries, and I really got upset when I saw the list come out because Alan Powell's name wasn't on here. And then I saw that my name wasn't on Defense of Veterans Affairs, where I'd been the chairman. And apparently when they put the list together, they knocked the former chairman off. But we both got back on original committees. And I'm glad to have Alan here because he's so reticent to say anything about issues, and and he ran a good meeting. I mean, Alan ran a good meeting. I've told some of the new people here, this is probably the most emotional committee in the legislature. There's a lot of issues that come up here that affect people's lives, their families, and we've had people cry here many times, and we've had to have a couple escorted out the door. So. This is serious business. Alan's done a great job, and I'm just glad to have him to assist me with this.
Gosh, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it is a privilege to still be on this committee. My name's Alan Powell. I represent Hart, Franklin, and Madison counties. Actually, I'm going on my 30th year in the legislature. I used to actually be a member of this. I started when legislators actually used to ask questions. And that being said, that might lead to a lot of the way I operate, because I try to encourage folks to ask questions. If you get the right questions, and you can maybe find the right solutions. I was honored for the last 6 years to be a member of this and to chair this committee. A lot of good members on this committee. I look out here today, and I still see a lot of good members and a lot of old friends. This is probably, without a doubt, in my opinion, one of the more important committees. It deals with public safety, and that's one thing that our government is established to do, and that's to ensure a civil and an orderly way that we live in this society. That being said, in this day that not everybody believes in the Second Amendment, that everybody should carry their own weapon, we do rely on law enforcement even more. Some of us do that, but we also believe in our own abilities to protect ourselves. I look across this committee, and we've got some good people in here. Abby was absolutely the best handler that I'd ever dealt with in my tenure. And without a doubt, we've got probably one of the best legal counsels in Julius over there. He spent a lot of hours doing the things that this committee needed to do. But honestly, there's only probably the greatest pride that I can say about being here today is there's two members of public safety back there, Tommy Waldrop and Jeremy Vickery. They're the most important people in this room because they're the only two people here in attendance that can vote for me. So that being said, if you don't believe I'm all about public safety, talk to them two guys right there. And what a great privilege it is, Mr. Chairman, to have you and your historic background of public safety to be chairing this committee.
Thank you. And we missed Representative Glanton, but he's come in and heard everybody else's bio.
So I can just use some of the stuff that I've heard already, Mr. Chairman. But certainly it's an honor for me to be back here on this committee, and thank you to those of you who serve every day in public service. And I know as a military man that we just couldn't make it without you. So thank you for your service. You know, as I look around the members up here now, it's like one of those things where you wake up one day and you're the old person in the room. And so other than Representative Frazier and Chairman Powell, I think I'm the longest serving member here on this committee. And never saw it coming, but it came. And so I'm thankful once again to be under Chairman Hitchens' leadership here. He served as a sweet mate for me for about a day and a half. You were in and out pretty quick. But anyway, I appreciate your leadership. I'm originally from Rome, Floyd County, and came to Clayton County, where I now represent by way of the United States Army. I'm retired from the United States Army. My family has been dedicated to public service, both locally and nationally, for some years. My father served during the Vietnam era. I've served. My wife is a veteran. My daughter currently has 18 years and is currently stationed in or deployed to Syria. My son is in the cavalry at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And now I have a granddaughter who is scheduled to graduate from AIT on February 7th. So we'll be up at Petersburg, Virginia, to watch her graduate. So we are a military family. We are a family that's interested and dedicated to public service. And so in addition to being military retired, I worked for 10 years with the Department of Defense and as well as the Department of Army. So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. And one person who I didn't introduce because she hadn't got a mic is my secretary, Lamaya Edmonds, who's sitting back in the back. She's the person that takes care of all the paperwork and all the phone calls. So if you can't get me, Lamaya will be happy to talk to you. I'd like to introduce a couple, and I'll just ask you to stand, those who they're the lead person in their agency. I see the District Attorneys Association, the GBI, the State Patrol. If you would stand and just tell us who you are and just a brief synopsis of what you're about. So. And everybody that knows Mr. Skandalakis knows he's a good person to go to if you need some legal advice about some criminal activity or criminal law. So we appreciate you. She's another good person for information. She hangs around outside the speaker's office there pretty regular. So if you need information about the GBI or their capabilities, she's always open. Colonel?
Mark McDonough, Raven Gap, the unofficial president of the Benny's Creek Homeowners Association. I'm the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. We have 3 divisions, y'all. Everybody knows the Georgia State Patrols, the troopers. Motor Carrier Compliance Division, they're the truck experts. That's what Jeremy does, the beautiful man at the end of the road there. We also are in charge of the Capitol Police Division that provides security for Capitol Hill. About 1,106 total sworn folks in our department, and we do a lot of different stuff from SWAT to skirt investigations to dive. You name it, you'd be surprised what we do. The newest thing that we've added is we now have a radiological nuclear detection group. We're actually working for the all hazards group, screening all the buildings and stuff for the Super Bowl. They can do it on the ground and in the air, so you'd be surprised the stuff that our agency can do, and it's a pleasure to be here to see all of you today.
I'm Todd Edwards. I'm with the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. As y'all are aware, counties are partners with the state on all aspects of public safety for the citizens of Georgia. Deborah Nesbitt or myself will always representing her and work with her moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Don't be bashful. I saw that Jill had gotten that position. That was a positive thing from my perspective. And our last member is Representative Rick Jaspers from Jasper. Let me see if he wants to say a few words about himself.
Glad to be here.
That all you want to say, Rick? Okay. I really only have one piece of business here today, and that's the rules. Everybody knows that as we begin the session, we have to vote on rules. I've got them outlined for you, the ones that they should be in your folder there. There are 9 of them. To be very honest, there's only one change. I've moved the quorum from 4 to 5. We have some additional members now. This has gotten to be a fairly large group, and so if you want to take a few minutes, if you haven't already, and look over them, and I'll certainly entertain a motion. Okay, we have a motion, and I believe we have a second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And the only other piece of business I have is I want to do some things. I want to operate pretty much like Chairman Powell did last year, and we're going to come up with 2 subcommittees. The volume of bills that are coming in has just astounded me, and I think it moves faster if we have 2 different groups. And I'm going to appoint a chairman over the weekend of each group and start issuing or feeding out the different bills, the different subcommittees to take a look at and approve or disapprove, and then bring them up to the committees. So, and that's about as much as I have. If anybody else has anything, you know, I know we're standing between you and Low Country Bull. So, hearing none, we're adjourned.